It just doesn't get much better than this. Game week is here. The official basketball season starts this week, and tomorrow we finally get to see Duke basketball in the new season.
Hi, everybody. Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man. The Locked On Blue Devils with J.J. Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. It's so great to have you here with us today on Monday, November 3rd, 2025. Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop where we discuss everything going on inside the life of Duke athletics. Game week has arrived for Duke men's basketball, and we're excited to break it all down as Duke opens up the season tomorrow against Texas. We've got a great conversation coming your way with our pal Brendan Marks of The Athletic. Also expected to be featured throughout the show this week, we'll be breaking down Duke's major impressive win over Clemson in football this past weekend. First time in 45 years the Blue Devils go on the road and knock off the Clemson Tigers, so expect plenty of coverage coming your way there for that. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Be sure to leave us a 5-star rating and written review. You can take a moment, if you will, to go ahead and watch us on YouTube as well. Like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as we're always looking to grow our YouTube audience. Thank you so much for our support. A special shout out to all of our everydayers out there. Thanks for making Locked On Blue Devils your first listen each and every day. So without further ado, the aforementioned Brendan Marks of The Athletic is back with us, and it can only mean one thing. The college basketball season has finally arrived. Enough of the summer conversations, the fall lead up to it all. The game week has finally arrived, Brendan. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, doing great. Thanks for having me. I don't know why. I feel like the college basketball preseason lasts longer than every other sport. Maybe that's just because I'm counting down for it, but very glad it's finally here.
Yeah, now we get to see this Duke team in action. We've seen a couple of impressive exhibition victories for them out of already this season, and now you've got real-time games set to be played starting tomorrow against Texas. 2 exhibition wins in the column there for Duke. What's most notable about their performance thus far?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a whole new roster, a whole new team, trying to figure out roles, trying to figure out, even of the people who are back, being asked to do entirely different things than they were a year ago. But I think that any conversation about Duke in the preseason has to start with Cam Boozer. I mean, you knew he was going to be incredible. Duke staff had been saying all summer that he was even better than they anticipated. And this is a guy who arrived at Duke as a top 3 recruit and someone who a lot of people thought could go number 1 in the draft. And the first 2 exhibitions did nothing to slow the hype train. I think he's averaging like 28.5 points, 17.5 rebounds, 5 assists a game, shooting 50% from 3 on 5 attempts per game.
Not too bad.
Not too bad. This guy might have a future in the game. But yeah, I think any conversation there has to start with him. And obviously, the comparisons to Cooper Flagg, they're going to go on, whatever. He's his own player, plays a different kind of way, but it's clear that where Cam Boozer goes this year is where Duke will follow. And if you're a Duke fan, that's a pretty good place to be because he looks fantastic out of the gate.
It's one of those things where, you spend so much time over the course of the summer and the offseason leading up to this, like Cameron Boozer. In a way, you almost want to set yourself up for a little bit of a letdown, and that just didn't happen. It's a massive debut, and then to follow it up with another performance like that against a quality team that went to an Elite Eight a season ago. You look at just the pure size that Tennessee has on their roster, from Okpara to Amit to Carey to Dwayne Brown. I mean, it's just insane the number of big bodies they even have, and he walks away with the 2020 game.
Yeah, I mean, the UCF one, respectfully, is one thing. UCF projected to be, sort of middle of the pack or worse in the Big 12. I mean, Tennessee, like you said, they're coming off back-to-back Elite Eights, have all the talent in the world, another top 5 recruit in Nate Ament, and it just did not bother Boozer. I think what you saw was how much of a focal point he's going to be, and to some extent has to be. Like, this is a good team, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of talent here, but Cooper Flagg last year had to do a little bit of everything, but there were games where Con Knippel carried.
Yeah.
There were games when, Tyrese Proctor was shooting the lights out. There were games when, Kaman Malawach was just a wall around the rim. And it feels much more this year that, Cam Boozer is going to have to put on the cape almost every single night. And that's okay. I mean, he's clearly capable of it. I love the audio. Duke's social team is incredible. The audio of him in the halftime locker room at Tennessee talking
cool.
about, I mean, that's the good stuff. That's what you're looking for. And so, no, being able to do it against UCF is one thing. Doing it against Tennessee at Tennessee is an entirely different beast. And again, like I said, the hype train is not slowing down anytime soon. And I'm sure Sean Miller had a lot of sleepless nights after watching that Tennessee performance.
Well, yeah, now that's who Duke plays to open up the season is that Texas squad. And it's a high major opponent in the Texas Longhorns that you're going up against to open up the year. Pretty impressive that's kind of the level Cam Boozer's already playing at, considering what Texas is now trying to do. I mean, they're going to try everything possible to kind of slow Cam Boozer down. It feels like that's going to be the model, like you said, with most teams this season.
Yeah, that was the model for a lot of teams last year with Cooper Flagg too. And, you can only do so much. Like, look, the guy is so skilled. I think the thing that's impressed me the most, and you knew that he was a good playmaker. And, in talking to Jon Scheyer over the summer, talking to Duke's staff over the summer, it was clear that they were going to play more through their bigs, use them more as playmaking hubs, passing hubs, not just Cam Boozer, but Patrick Ngongba too. And that to me has been the most pleasant, biggest surprise so far, is just how phenomenal of a passer Boozer is even right out of the gate. I mean, his ability to see things, his ability to find open teammates, to hit those. I mean, I remember sitting courtside at Cameron for the UCF game and a couple of times like audibly saying, "Oh my God, what a pass." Like, so yeah, I mean, that part to me, I think has been even further ahead than I would have expected. And yeah, like again, Texas can try and shut him down. You can try and double him, but he's enough of a playmaker that he's going to find his teammates, and Duke has enough talent around him to make the Longhorns pay.
Yeah, definitely want to get to more of that talent around Cam Boozer and just kind of scouting this Texas team, again, to open up the year with a high major opponent. Duke hasn't done this since 2018-2019 season, when the Champions Classic was the very first game of the year, the debut of Zion Williamson and R.J. Barrett, Cam Reddish, that whole squad. And they played really well against that Kentucky team.
That's saying something.
Yeah, the everydayers are going to be sick of me saying this, Brendan, but I think about the jump in competition that team had. Let me remind you that season, Duke played exhibition games against Virginia Union and something called Ferris State, right? Again, we're discrediting a little bit of what Duke was able to do against UCF. Now you're going high major level against a Texas team again for the first time since Kentucky. You got to feel a little bit better about this, because that's not a Ferris State. That's an Elite Eight team from last season.
Yeah, and that's why you're seeing, I mean, Jon Scheyer has been really, I think, ever since he became head coach, has been on the proactive end of scheduling. He was the first one to kind of do this mid-February non-conference game. Yeah. Now he's tilting the scales. He's leaned into the exhibitions. Obviously, because of some rule changes to the NCAA, we've seen more public exhibitions rather than some of the secret scrimmages. He clearly leaned into that. I mean, I remember talking to him over the summer and asking him how, like, the Tennessee game came about, what was the impetus, and he said, we were literally looking for the hardest opponent we could find who would let us come to their place, right? And Tennessee was in. So, I think, again, you talk about this, like the Champions Classic Zion game, really set high expectations for that team, but it also told them right out of the gate, like, hey, if you can do this against this caliber of team, and again, that Kentucky team didn't end up to be what we thought it was,
sure.
But being able to do that in the first game of the season, I think, can have a really profound impact versus kind of easing your way in. And, I wish the Champions Classic was the start of the season every year. You and I were just talking about that off air, but to do it against the high major team, your first opponent, especially given the non-conference schedule that Duke has, like, what benefit is there to really warm it up? You've already done it against two high majors. You've got another one. You're going semi-neutral. I love it. It's again, it embodies everything Jon Scheyer has wanted to do since he became head coach, and I'm not expecting this trend to change as long as he is Duke's head coach.
What you're telling me, all due respect to Ferris State and Virginia, this is the way.
This is absolutely the way. I mean, look, and here's the thing, for Jon Scheyer specifically, he saw last year that Duke's dominance in the ACC, as awesome as that was, as much fun as that was for him, for Duke fans, for the program, didn't necessarily prepare Duke for the crucible when it mattered most in close games. Did they have enough reps in those situations? And I think you can fairly say no, they didn't, and that's not of their own fault. That's just the reality of where the ACC was last year. And so him doing this, he's going out of his way to simulate and create those situations. And I think he understands, like, look, Duke lost a lot of those early season games last year, lost to Kansas, lost to Kentucky, and it was okay, right? Like the team got better for that. And, you want to win every game, but at the same time, the only thing that matters is playing at your best in March. And I think this is very intentional about doing that. Wholeheartedly endorse it. I wish more coaches did it. My only complaint, and I'm picking nits here, I wish it was a home and home. I just love the home atmospheres.
Right.
But it'll be a great game nonetheless, and it's the kind of thing that's going to prepare Duke much better for the long haul than, respectfully, a game against, a northwest directional whatever.
No doubt about that. All right, so we've highlighted Cam Boozer and how much he's going to bring to the table for Duke, but it is a team of 5 players out there at once. They're a very loaded roster for Duke basketball in particular. I want to get into some of the nitty-gritties there after we take our first break here on this episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. Tailgates, rivalries, energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real, actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless waiting queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. The easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple of taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about the favorite college football games for as low as $25. The app is so simple and so easy to use. One of my favorite things is that you're able to see the exact seat view in the app before you buy. So even before you go to the game, you can kind of know the visuals, the lay of the land, what your vision's going to be like going into it. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Game Time is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, let's keep this thing rolling. Brendan Marks of The Athletic is here with us talking about the start of the Duke basketball season. Cameron Boozer is going to get every headline this season for Duke basketball, and deservedly so. There are other guys that are going to be fighting for their own headlines as well and making big-time plays out there on the floor, including Isaiah Evans. And this was such a big move for Duke to be able to get him back for his sophomore season. Yeah, huge. I mean, back in March, I think there was, if you'd asked me then, I'd have said there's a very realistic shot that Isaiah Evans was not back at Duke this year. And so, for Jon Scheyer and his staff to recognize what it was going to take to get him back, to have conversations with him about what his role can be, what his role should be, transparently, what he needed to improve at, and then to make the necessary financial commitments, that shows how much Duke valued him and prioritized him. And, it's funny, I was sitting there for the UCF game talking to a couple other reporters, and, one of them asked a great question that I keep thinking about and will be thinking about in the lead up to and during the Texas game. Who's Duke's second best player? Yeah. And I think it's a fascinating question. I think, like last year, if you'd asked me who was Duke's second best player, easy, Con Knippel. And he was probably the best Robin in the entire country last year. And then you had sort of rounding out the triplets, you had Kaman Malawach, but obviously all 5 starters get drafted. I'll be interested to see if it is Evans or somebody else who really stakes their claim to that Robin role next to Cam Boozer. I think Evans has as great an opportunity and lane to do so as anyone else on the team. But I'm interested to see if that is a regular occurrence or if that's a role that sort of oscillates on a game-to-game basis. But again, certainly Evans, he is going to be Duke's number 1 perimeter guy all year long. He should be. And it'll be interesting to see if he can sort of rise to that mantle and be that every game secondary scorer and top perimeter scorer. Yeah, and as a secondary scorer, what does that shot diet look like? I mean, is this strictly firing it from the outside the whole time, or is there a little bit more wiggle to his game, getting to the rim a little bit, looking for the mid-range, those sort of things? I was pleasantly surprised. I thought the Tennessee game much more than the UCF one. Sure. You go back and you look at those 2 games, the way he attacked closeouts in the Tennessee game, much more encouraging, much more of what I was hoping to see from him than in the UCF game, where I do think he settled a couple of times. And if I was a human flamethrower like he is, I would probably settle for a few threes at times, just human nature. But I do think that, clearly the coaching staff said to him, this is what we need more from you. I thought he did a much better job of that. He has the athleticism to punish those closeouts really well.
can he eventually get to the point where he's passing? If someone closes hard, he drives. Can he kick again? That would be sort of the next step. But he's going to have to be more than a 3-point marksman for Duke to achieve the lofty goals that it has. He has to be able, and I think you saw that against Tennessee too, right? Like sticking his body in there, hustling, using his length to affect passing lanes defensively, handling the ball a little bit, being a secondary handler, swinging the ball. All of those things are going to be huge for him. And, I thought he did a really nice job against Tennessee. That was much more to me of the formula to see for Isaiah Evans.
Down 6 at halftime, first bucket out of the gates was a dunk at the rim for Isaiah. The 3-point shot certainly gets everybody hyped, but when you play above the rim like that and you've got the athleticism to do it, I want to see it, man. Those are the exciting highlight plays that you get out of him. Other dynamic players for the Duke team that everybody is excited to see. What in the world does the sophomore Patrick Ngongba II look like for this Duke team? His pairing with Cam Boozer specifically. The front court depth could be a question that people have, but they're at the top. You got to feel really good about Boozer, about Ngongba, Malik Brown even, but Pat specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if I were to say today, going back to that question I just posed, who's Duke's second best player? Who does it need to be? I am tempted to say Ngongba even over Isaiah Evans for the rim protection. Jon Scheyer's ethos through his first few seasons as Duke's head coach has been defense oriented, right? The defense has always been the calling card, the length, the positional size, the rim protection. And, the year where Duke was its most inconsistent under Scheyer was when it lacked that, when it had Kyle Filipowski, sort of moonlighting at center and, playing 3 guards and small ball. The offense was incredible, but the defense did take some steps back. And so I think when you're looking at this Duke team, Ngongba's role, like Boozer's going to play some time at the 5. Malik Brown, when he's healthy, is going to obviously see some time at the 5. But Ngongba has to be that guy, and he has to be able to give you 20, 25 minutes a game, especially with Malik Brown's health. The front court situation and the depth there is certainly, if not my number one concern for Duke, very, very high on the top of the list. The margin for error there, just because of Malik Brown's health, is very thin. But like you said, if Ngongba is healthy, the ability to be a rim protector, the ability to stretch out and occasionally hit a shot, the ability to, be a low post scorer and cleanup man.
Yep.
I think all those things are going to be essential. And again, the connection between him and Cameron Boozer, the big-to-big passing. I think that'll be huge. I think he's an underrated passer too. So I'm a big fan. I am buying Ngongba stock right now. And given Duke's roster makeup and Malik Brown's health, I kind of think if you're a Duke fan, you have to.
I kind of want to jump over here, looking at the roster and talking about buying stocks. I want to know that you've been writing about good work over at The Athletic for people to go check out. It seems like you're buying stock in Darren Harris and what this year could be for him. And I love to hear that, man, a guy that's, didn't run when he wasn't playing hardly at all for the Duke team a season ago, and really does feel like DH could be a big time player this season.
Absolutely. Give me the stock. I mean, I am buying
for it.
I mean, I'm driving the Darren Harris hype train. Or Connor O'Neill and I are splitting that responsibility. We're co-conductors.
Yeah.
No, look, like he to me is exactly what this team needs. He is a low usage, high efficiency player who contributes in all of the areas where this Duke team conceivably needs a little bit more help, right? So Cam Boozer is going to be incredibly ball dominant. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. Isaiah Evans is going to have an incredibly high usage rate too. Both of those guys, like, they need the rock a lot. What Harris is he is a glue guy. He is a passer. He is a connective link. And then he's an open 3-point shooter who, when everything else is going on the inside, just having him on the weak side corner is hugely valuable. So I think the other thing I would say, athletically, because of his injuries in high school, I don't think he was all the way and missing some time in the preseason last year. He had the broken hand. Like, the difference in him having had a full summer, I think, is huge. His hustle, his athleticism, his willingness to throw his body on the line, like it all. And he's a lifelong Duke fan. Like, he grew up just eating and breathing this stuff. I think it shows and it translates. And again, everybody can't be the star. Everybody can't be Cam Boozer. He is one of those essential glue guys who is going to make Duke better. And, if he ends up being this team's 6th man, 7th man, playing 15, 20 minutes a game, like, I think not only is that within the realm of possibility, I would be surprised if that did not translate, given how selflessly he plays.
Yeah, something to be said for just truly appreciating the opportunity that you have to play for Duke, right? And to have been there for a full season and it not go your way, but to be on this incredible team and all the things that you were able to just learn being in the environment, the on-court reps that you got from time to time. Now there's going to be way more of them. So I'm there with you, man. I'm jumping on the train. I want to be there.
Come on, we got room.
Yeah.
I tweeted this during the UCF game. I would imagine that Isaiah Evans is going to lead Duke in 3-point makes this year strictly because of the volume, but It would not surprise me at all if Darren Harris is Duke's best 3-point percentage leader. Right. I think he will be the most efficient 3-point shooter Duke has this season.
Yeah, put on quite the display countdown when we had the return of that 3-point competition. So that said, looking at this roster, the wing spot is also something that we've been highlighting a whole lot this summer. I mean, the thing we were talking about, Dame Sarr comes in, Nick Kamenia is there. How does this work? What does that look like for this team? Had the injury that Dame Sarr sustained. In some ways, following Coach Scheyer's comments, didn't think we'd even see him against Tennessee. And then you do, and I'm watching him out there on the floor against the Vols. My goodness, it feels like his arms are already touching the floor. I mean, it's insane what he's going to be able to bring on the defensive end, and how can you not be pleased with what you've seen already out of Nick Kamenia? I guess trying to figure out how it all works together and whatnot, but this looks like a pair of really impressive freshmen to me.
Yeah, for sure. It kind of reminds me of the situation last year, and that Duke's going to have again this year, but even more so last year with Kaban Malawach and Malik Brown. And, after they won at Arizona, Scheyer described them as having a fastball and having a changeup pitch, right? Like you're getting two entirely different things. Sure. And I think with Sarr and Nick Kamenia, that's an apt sort of deal as well. So like Sarr, 100% agree with you. The athleticism, the length, defensively, in transition, him attacking space. Like it is not hard to watch Dame Sarr play basketball for 15, 20 minutes and imagine what he's going to be able to do at the next level when he has the space and the freedom of movement that just simply doesn't exist in the college game. And then Kamenia, on the other hand, just a whirling dervish, dude. Just like a Tasmanian devil who put on Jordans. I mean, he's driving in. He's good. He draws fouls. He drives contact. We haven't maybe seen the shooting translate quite the way that it was heralded for him as a prospect yet. Long season. A lot of Duke players. I mean, I think Cooper Flagg last year, Dariq Whitehead. I mean, there have been so many guys who have taken serious in-season strides. I think he's a candidate to do that. And he offers you some versatility, maybe more offensively than Sarr does. The ability to pass, the ability to handle a little bit, the ability to do some big-to-big stuff. But again, as far as attacking the basket, getting to the line, I mean, he's just a natural. He's drawn to the rim. So how Scheyer staggers them, I think, will be interesting. They can play together. Absolutely, they can play together. I'd imagine there's going to be situations where Duke goes super, super big and has like Sarr at the 2, Kamenia at the 3, Boozer at the 4, and one of Ngongba or Brown at the 5 in a just gigantic lineup because at Duke you can do things like that. But yeah, I think they are very different players and will bring very different things, and it will be a matchup, hot hand, what do I need? And it'll be a mix and match situation for Jon Scheyer.
This will likely be the first of many times this season that we're going to talk about the dynamic of Caleb Foster and Cayden Boozer and how it all works. I mean, it feels like it's a good problem to have in some ways, but these two guys, obviously thrilled to have them on this Duke roster in particular, but how they work, how they mesh with the rest of the team is going to be huge.
Yeah, the way I've been describing it is I think Cayden Boozer is Duke's best passer. I think he's Duke's best pure point guard. But as far as getting paint touches and collapsing, putting pressure on the rim, Caleb Foster is clearly superior in that respect. But that question to me, how that job translates, how the production at the lead guard spot sort of ebbs and flows throughout the season, that to me is the story of Duke's season. Yeah. That is what determines if Duke is a inconsistent Sweet 16, top 15, top 20 team, or if Duke is a Final Four national title contender. It is that lead guard spot. Is one of those two guys, are they making enough shots to keep defensive on it? Cayden Boozer, can he continue to develop, beyond just being this extraordinary passer? Caleb Foster, confidence. Can he maintain it? Can he be aggressive? Can he put pressure on the rim? Defensively, can Caleb Foster hang? I mean, I think there have been times, even in the preseason, where he has looked a little suspect defensively, maybe more so than I would have expected. So That to me is the biggest question for Duke going into the season. It is the number one thing that is going to determine Duke's ceiling. And quite frankly, I don't think we have a good answer right now. I don't think we're going to have one for a while. I think it's going to be a work in progress throughout most of the non-conference. If you're Jon Scheyer, you just hope to have some idea of where you stand at that position going into conference play in the back half of the season.
Yeah, just need more data points. I mean, in the UCF game, it felt like the numbers definitely swayed in Cayden Boozer's favor, and then the Tennessee game, it goes back and Foster. I mean, you got to have some averages to be able to look at this and get the full picture of what exactly it's going to look like. So that's kind of a full breakdown of what we're expecting out of the Duke team going into the season, and already sights are being set for this class of 2026. It's all happening at once. So we'll step aside. We'll take a final timeout here on the show and then start to wrap up after this. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA and a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, here we go. Brendan Marks of The Athletic is here with us. We're talking about the start of this new season for Duke basketball. And within the last week, we've seen new additions to the class of 2026. Oftentimes over the summer, that's kind of what we're focused on, is who are these next guys coming in. Recruiting is a 365-day-a-year job. Roster management has certainly shifted to that. But finally, we got some news on that front, Brendan. It's been wild.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And look, it's not done. I will say, just sort of broadly, I think a lot of Duke fans are used to Jon Scheyer. He has shown a tendency throughout his tenure to wrap things up quickly, right? Like the classes are pretty well set by even the end of the calendar year. And just because of some of the uncertainty about revenue sharing, some of the uncertainty about the role of collectives, financing for future teams, just generally, you've seen a lot slower high school recruiting period. So I think it's important for people to understand that is not like a Duke-specific problem. It is not a symptom of anything. It is just broadly we are seeing a lot fewer high school commitments. It's been a lot more of a trickle than it has been in the past couple of seasons. But yeah, as far as Duke, I mean, the headliner is Bryson Howard, right? There is only so much positional size in next year's recruiting class, and he's one of the guys who has it. Easy to project him sort of as one of those potential starting players on the wing. Great athlete, can shoot it. Obviously has NBA bona fides. Jon Scheyer has shown a preference for guys who, do have a nice pedigree. And he 100% fits what Duke wants. They're not done, but Howard is obviously the headliner so far and will be a huge building block of whatever Duke's 26 class becomes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. You think about all the visits that have taken place recently, from countdown to the exhibition to throughout the course of the football season, getting them there on campus through the weekends and putting together smaller recruiting classes, right, in size and number of players. And yet Duke still hasn't been able to do that. The best players want to come play for you. It's really hard to tell them no at that point. And then I'm sitting here looking, and there's already two. We've got Bryson Howard and the Max Meyer from IMG Academy. The Canadian is now committed. There's Jordan Smith Jr. They're out possibly. Cam Williams. I mean, it feels like this is the making of possibly another big recruiting class.
Yeah, this year's I think Jon Scheyer initially planned for it to be a little bit smaller, and then he saw his team last year and was like, "Oh, I'm not keeping any of these guys around. Better go get some more players." I do think that Duke will have retention for next year. I think that obviously Cam Boozer's not going to be a multi-year player. I think that there is a chance he gets some guys back, though. And so this might be a class that's in that 3 to 4 range rather than the 6-7 range. But yeah, Jordan Smith is the next name to know. He is the top target for Duke in this class as far as being a table setting guard. Again, positional size. He's not the biggest player, but his wingspan is immense. His defense, the way he contributes to winning. And again, the Paul VI pipeline. Jeremy Roach, Trevor Keels, Darren Harris, Patrick Ngongba. You got to feel good about Duke's chances as far as Jordan Smith is concerned. And then, you mentioned Meyer. He's the interesting one to me because Scheyer has done this before. He did it with Christian Reeves. He wants to try and develop to some extent with Darren Harris, but he was, a top 50 player. And Meyer's maybe not quite there, but the willingness to try and still develop a guy every year, every other year, it's a really unique thing that you don't see a lot of college programs trying to do. So, I don't know that Meyer is going to be a contributor for Duke next year. But if you can keep him for 2 years, maybe he can be a sophomore contributor rotation player. And so that's a very interesting strategic sort of zag from where everybody else is zigging right now. And I'll be interested to see how it plays out. Again, the Christian Reeves thing was, a different version. Times were a little bit different, and it maybe never fully matriculated. I would say Meyer probably has more upside and is also more immediately ready than Reeves was.
You can't teach 7 feet. I mean, when you're looking in with what they went from, Mark Williams, Derek Lively, Kaman Malawach, if you could find length there at the rim, that's where you want to go.
Many people are saying Jon Scheyer has a type. Right? Look, that's been the number, as much as defense has been the ethos of his tenure, it's been the size. He wants to have a 7-footer. And he liked the ability, I think it's cliche. You and I have talked about this. I think I've said this, 100 times by now. Jon Scheyer's first 2 teams taught him what he liked and what he didn't. Yeah. He liked the defense and the length of his first team. He liked the pacing and offensive spacing of his second team. And so the job was, how do I find long dudes who are also skilled? And it's the NBA model. It's what he's brought to Duke. It has been his priority in everything he does. This next class is going to be interesting because, like I said, there isn't as much of that. Jordan Smith is 6'3", so he would be, I think he'd be Duke's, shortest point guard in 2 or 3 years, which is crazy.
Right.
But that's what he wants. And, certainly Meyer fits that mold as someone long, shot blocking potential. It's, Jon Scheyer has a type. Him and Matt Painter just fighting for 7-footers everywhere.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, you mentioned kind of the size there at the guard spot with Jordan Smith not fitting this 6'5" kind of mold that's been there over the last few years, but still the wingspan that he's got, the way he gets after it, he'll be a plug-and-play guy right away. I know Deron Rippey just had an official visit to Duke. He's certainly not that size and strength, and I know Duke's probably got some work to do in that recruiting front with other teams in the mix, and Rippey Jr. taking visits to everywhere in the country at this point. That's a good play for Duke, for the kid to be on an official visit to Tennessee, and Duke put on the performance that they did after you were just in Duke's building in that one, by the way.
I was going to say, having just been at Duke and seeing it up close, seeing it in back-to-back weeks, that might make him a little bit of an impression.
There you go. Brendan, tell us a little bit about all of your work, where people can find you. And now that college basketball season is here, it's the perfect time to dive into it, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you giving me the platform. I'm out of hibernation. College Hoops is back. I will be in Charlotte for Duke, Texas. I will be in New York for Champions Classic. Have a bunch of stuff coming out about Duke specifically and beyond. I think the ACC this year is going to be really interesting. We'll have some more stuff there. And, I'll have my weekly national column, Court Vision, bringing that back. Certainly there will be a big focus. Just today we have something up from Sam Vecini, our NBA draft expert on Boozer. I'm biased, but I think we have the best sports writing staff and college basketball staff in the country at The Athletic. So if you're not already, would encourage you to check us out, try us out, see if you like it. Don't think you'll be disappointed.
Good to see you today, Brendan. We'll do this again soon, okay?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man.
All right, that's Brendan Marks of The Athletic joining us here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils, and that's going to bring our show today to a close. Basketball season is almost here. It's back again tomorrow. Super excited. Again, one final shout out to the Duke football team for that big win over Clemson this past weekend. More coming your way on that in the days to come. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.